So as I get started on this project, the first thing I'm doing is measure out and get a rough estimate of how long I want this table to be, and I got a yellow crayon to make it more visible, and I'm just going to mark each of these boards to see exactly where I want. And there's some bad spots I want to cut off, so I'm measuring from each side to cut off those bad spots. These oak boards are very heavy, so this will make them much more manageable as I start running them through the table saw and the planer and things like that. I also want to mention that my wife picked this table out she found it on the internet somewhere, and I found plans for this table on the Kreg website, so I'm following roughly the Kreg plans, except I'm not using pocket hole screws for everything. So if you're interested, there'll be a link below to the Kreg plans to build a table very similar to this one. I didn't do the breadboard ends either, and it calls for that in the project, but overall you can get the gist of the project from those plans. Again, they'll be linked below. Now what I'm doing here is I'm trying to get one side kind of flat, so it'll be kind of a little bit flatter as I run it through the table saw. So I'm just planing one side right now, and you can already see how much difference it is from the boards being planed. These boards look a world difference going through that planer when they come out on the other side. Now I'm going to the table saw to cut off these rough edges here and to get them parallel or as close as I can. I'm going to run these through a couple times. And you can see here that planed edge is on the bottom there, so I'm going to put it on the bottom of the saw to reference a better flat surface. And then I'm going to just cut off each of those edges. This is the second time this board's gone through. I don't know if you could tell as I was flipping it, but the other side's already been cut. So now I'm just trying to get them, like I said, parallel to each other. Now I've marked each of the boards, and I have an up arrow for which side is going to be the up or the top of the table. And now what I'm doing is going through and marking where I want all of my biscuit joints. Like I said, the plans call for pocket hole screws, but I'm going to use biscuit joints. That's what I have. And so what I did is I went ahead and marked all of the I made two sets of marks. One is with a pencil that's a normal lead pencil, and those are going to be the top marks where I put the biscuits on the top side of the boards. And then I went back with a red pencil, as you saw there, and I marked what's going to be the bottom, or vice versa. And you'll see what I mean here in just a second. If you look and see where I'm referencing on that the biscuit joiner right there, you can see it's definitely a little bit closer to the top edge. And then here in a minute I'm going to go back and reference closer to the bottom edge, and this is just so that those biscuits are spaced apart. And I think I have a picture of exactly what I mean, but you can tell that biscuit joiner is definitely going down much lower from the top there. So altogether for this project I'm doing 4 glue ups. I'm doing 3 of these to begin with, and then I'm going to plane the boards, and then I'll come back and do a final big glue up. Gluing up boards is really like boring to show on camera, but I want to show, I guess, a little bit of it. So now I'm going to put those biscuits in. That's going to help us line them up. So let's take the clamps off and let's take this to the planer. And again, I'm not going to show every board that I planed. I planed these probably 4 or 5 times on each side, or 2 or 3 times on each side, for 5 or 6 times total per board. One small mistake I made is I've already cut all my biscuit slots, and that was a mistake because now I've planed these boards again, so it may not reference off the top of the tabletop exactly the same. So I'm marking out the X's on these so I can go back and recut all of these biscuit joints. It wasn't a big deal, but was a small mistake I made. I needed to wait until this step to actually cut these biscuit slots here. And if I'm going to be honest, this glue up, this last glue up here, while it was a struggle to get it to finally pull tight, as far as getting the boards to line up and go together, this was the easiest out of the three of them. I simply just laid these down after I got glue and the biscuits in there, and then they just slid together, and I clamped two of them together and then went back and did the third one again. Like I said, this went together much easier than the previous three glue ups did. And while I did not realize it, my camera died while I was doing this glue up, so I did not get a picture of the full glue up with all the clamps on it. And I apologize for that, but that happened. And then when I took it apart, for some reason I didn't record that either, but there was a lot more clamps than two on this glue up, and it went together great. Now, as you may have saw when I did my drawer video, I am using the 635 epoxy and black spray paint. And this is there will be a link in the description to show exactly how I do this process in more detail, but this is the me just filling in all these little cracks here. And now I need to sand all that extra epoxy off. I did have to do this a couple times. I did think I did 2 or 3 iterations of this, but it's kind of boring to watch, so I only showed one. And then I'm going to cut these to the final length here. Square up each of those ends as well. Now we'll add the MonoCoat. I'll have a link in the description to where you can buy this set, and I also have a link to the video where I use this on that same drawer video. Again, this stuff is super easy to apply. You mix it up and then you just pretty much spread it. I started out spreading it with a putty knife, and then I quickly switched to this larger squeegee here to get a good coverage on this thing. And then after about 15 minutes, all you do is wipe off the extra. Pretty simple if you ask me. And this is going to wrap up the tabletop video. If this happens to be your first video, make sure you click that subscribe button and ring the bell so you'll know when the base video is coming up. I will also, once I get through uploading the 2 separate parts, I'll do a combined part. It'll just be a much longer video, probably around 20 minutes or possibly longer. It'll show the entire process from start to finish of making this table. But I just want to get you guys something here quickly. Thanks again for watching, and as always, y'all will see me next time.